Hi, I'm Ellen Gormley and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do two types of cabling and I'm using Brenda Borg's pattern from Knit Picks, and this is called the Snowberry Cables Afghan, and you can get this pattern from Knit Picks, and I will put the link in the description below. But here's what it looks like. I'm using the cable from this pattern. Look how gorgeous this is. I'm using two of the cables from this pattern to teach you a little bit about cabling, and so if you're interested in the whole pattern, go to Knit Picks and download that for yourself. Here's a close-up of the cables that we're doing today. So I made a swatch already, and I made it in this solid light bluish gray color, but I felt like maybe for demonstration purposes it's kind of hard to see when it's time to actually make it. So we're going to make this cable, which is the most basic and easiest cable, and then we're going to make this crossover 3 cable, twisting cable. So let's do that together, but I just want to show you what the end product is. And sorry about the dog running laps in the background. Also to note, he chewed up my hook. So anyway, that's the hook I'm using. I'm using a J hook and a worsted weight yarn, which is what is specified in the pattern. And let me find my notes here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to start with just a bunch of chains. I just made a bunch of chains in the multiple just to swatch out the pattern. When you get the actual pattern, you'll swatch and you'll do the specified number of chains in the pattern. So with the light bluish gray color, I made the foundation, and the foundation of this pattern is half double crochets. So I made a bunch, and let me rip back this. This is what the first row is going to look like after we do it, but let's do it together. And I'm going to do it in a contrasting color. I'm going to do each row in a contrasting color so that you can see exactly what we're doing. So I started with 3 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3. And let's go back one more in case you forget how to make a half double crochet. I am going to yarn over, insert the hook in the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. That is a half double crochet. Now if we're going to read along and do a stitch and read for this pattern, we are going to, so chain 2 is counting as the first half double crochet, then half double crocheting in the next 2 stitches, so we end up having 3. Then we're going to skip the next stitch, front post double crochet around the next post stitch 2 rows below. Okay, so what you do, we're skipping the next stitch, that would be this one here. So I'm just going to go 1 row down for this moment. I'm skipping the next one, and going into this one here. So skipping, dropping down a row, skipping one, this one here, and working into this one. So front post double crochet around the post of that stitch. Then I will, let's read the word so that you can learn how to read it too. Then working in front of the front post double crochet that was just made, front post double crochet around the skipped post of the stitch below. Okay, so what's going to happen is, working in front of this one that I just made, we're going to front post double crochet around the skipped one, which is here between my thumbs. So yarn over, front post double crochet is from front to back to front again, yarning over and pulling up a loop, yarning over and pulling through 2 loops on the hook twice. That is the basic cable. It is 2 stitches that are crossed like an X. Now we will be careful to skip 1, 2 stitches on the row because we've made 2 stitches. So we don't want to accidentally increase by then working in these 2, or decrease. Well, we can't really decrease because we just made 2. We're going to skip 2, so we're going to keep our pattern even. In general, when you make these front post stitches, you skip the ones that are behind it. But let's see what the instructions say here. Then it says half double crochet in next 3 stitches. Okay, so we're going to skip these 2, 1, 2, and half double crochet in each of the next 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, did that. Okay, this is how it looks so far. Now we are going to front post double crochet around each of the next 6 post stitches. Okay, so we are going to around the next 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to take us all the way over to there. We're going around the posts 2 rows below. So we are going to we are going to do this one, but we're not working in the top of it. We're working the next row down. So front post double crochet down here. Okay, and we're going to do that 6 times. Did I get it? Yep, around the post. Maybe I need to do that a little slower for you. Okay, so around this post here is where my target is for the next stitch. Okay. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're doing this pattern all the way across to the end of the row. If we made these 6 stitches, we're then skipping these back here. So we're skipping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the next stitch is 1, 2, 3. So if we were to advance all the way to the end of the row, it says half double crochet in the last 3 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Half double crochet 1 in each of the last 3 stitches. And because I am demonstrating this pattern, I would like to change color. I think I'm going to change color on the next one so you can see the cabling the best. So the next row, it's going to tell us to finish this stitch. Finish the stitch first, Ellen, before we tell us what's next. That's the first row of the cable. Then I'm going to chain 1 and turn, because it says chain 1, single crochet in next stitch and each stitch across. Okay, so we're just single crocheting across. Now when we're single crocheting across, we are single crocheting in the row we just made, which means we are single crocheting in the darker blue because that is the most recent row we made, and I am ignoring the light blue. Now it might be interesting and Brenda, I know you're going to watch this, so don't kill me, but it might be interesting. My creative mind here makes me think, what would happen if instead of skipping those stitches, I worked through them and the stitch at the same time? Just, I don't know. That's just what I don't know. I don't know what I would think. I wonder what the back of it would look like. Here's what the back of it looks like now. And you get these ridges here, which is fine. Absolutely beautiful. Nothing wrong with that. But if you worked through both rows at the same time, then that would alleviate some of that plateauing. But it doesn't matter. Follow the instructions. She probably had a reason. So single crochet in each stitch all the way across. Don't do as I do, do as I say. Us designers, we can't help it but to change things around every time we work it. So as I'm working the final stitch, I'm going to pull through with the other color so that I can go back to the light blue for the next cable row. So that's the next row. So all of the even numbered rows are going to be that rest row, that single crochet row all the way across every stitch. So that's easy. The next row for the cable, we are going to chain 2, follow the instructions, Ellen, chain 2 and half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. I'm not carrying the colors with me because I'm going to do 2 rows with them and include the single crochet row. So So there. And now it's time to do another one of that essential cable. So the essential easy cable, I don't even know what she called it. I don't think it's even described as a specific stitch, but skip the next stitch. That would be this one here. Then front post double crochet around the next post stitch. So not the first one, but the second one. So this one here is where my target is. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to go around the post of the second front post double crochet. So I'm making another X essentially. And here comes Theo. He's going to try to steal my yarn. You'll see him creeping in the upper left corner of your screen. And then after that, it says, working in front of the front post double crochet that was just made, front double crochet around the skipped post stitch. So around in front of this one that I just made, I'm going to work in this one here. That is the first one, like the skipped one. So I'm going to front post double crochet around that one. Okay, and so now I have an X. So this is making this cable here. This is what we're doing. But because I'm doing it in two colors, I thought maybe you'd be able to see it just a little bit better. So then after we made that beginner cable, that easy cable, it says half double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Okay, so skip those 2, 1, 2, and then half double crochet. So did you see that? I'm skipping these 2. 1, 2 stitches, and I'm going to half double crochet in 3. 1, did I get count right? Let's see. I need to skip this one and that one, so not the third one. So I need to come back a stitch. And here comes Theo's paws. Theo, my yarn thief. So 1, 2, 3. Now here's where the cabling magic really happens. So he's grabbing my yarn. So let's read the instructions here. So we half double crocheted in 3 stitches, the next 3. Then I'm going to, oh, let's see, there it is, half double crochet in 3 stitches. Then front post double crochet around, we already did that row? Did we already do that row? We already did that row because we did 6 in a row already. What needs to happen now is we need to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, skipping 1, 2, 3 posts, and I'm going to double crochet in this one, and this one. So this is where the big X happens. So here we go. We're going to skip the first one, the second one, and the third one, and we're going to work in numbers 4, 5, and 6, and then we're going to come back and work in 1, 2, and 3 in that order. So we're going to do 4, 5, and 6. So we're skipping 3, doing a front post double crochet around the next 3. Then we're going back to the skipped 3 in front of the ones just worked and work those. Okay, you following me? And that is going to make this crossover right here. We're doing the back ones first, and then we're going to go over the top. Okay, here we go. This is the magic. So double crochet, we're skipping 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to work in this one here, which is number 4. Okay. Now I'm going to work around number 5. Now I'm going to work around number 6. Now working in front of the front post double crochets just made and working around the posts of the skipped stitches, I'm going to double crochet, front post double crochet around this one, and then that one, and then this one. Okay, so let's do that together. Yarn over, go ahead and let that fabric twist a little bit, whatever you need to do. That's why you need a slightly bigger hook than what I normally would use for a worsted yarn. The swatch that I used a size I hook, and that's why it's just a little tight. Okay, so there's 2 of them, and then I can't forget that middle one in here and not leave him abandoned. And front post double crochet in there. There we go. So there's the first, there. If I spread it out a little bit, you can see it starting to happen. Now we're skipping 6 stitches back here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, skipping those. And in the next one, I'm going to half double crochet in each of the last 3 stitches. Now you'll have to download the pattern for yourself to get the exact stitch counts and to know how to make that really cool border. But at least this helps you with the tricky part, which is the cable. So the next row is an even numbered row, and so all the even numbered rows on this pattern during the cabling section are all the same. Not for the edging sections, you'll have to read through those, but for the cabling section, the even numbered rows are all single crochet in each stitch across. Now as you're coming to this cable and it's kind of like waffly, it's kind of twisty, you might have to spread it out a little bit so you can see where the stitches are. So I'm just single crocheting 1 in each stitch. Okay, make sure that you get all of them and don't accidentally skip any. So it's not the easiest pattern, but it's really not the hardest pattern. So be aware when you buy a pattern. This one is kind of borders that in between intermediate and advanced. So when you be alert to when you get a pattern, if it says intermediate or advanced, that you might need a few extra minutes in figuring it out. And usually swatching solves the problem if you have any confusion at all. So get that swatching hat on and get ready to practice it. But of course now, I hope with my help, if you download the Snowberry Cables Afghan by Brenda Borg from Knit Picks, you'll have this little help. But even if you don't get that pattern and you decide to improvise your own, this is a good orientation to cables. I'm backing up a little bit because I'm going to change over to darker blue again in the final stitch. Chain 2 and turn. Okay, and then I'm going to half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches because I'm going to allow that chain 2 to count as a stitch. Now I'm going to do the X again. So we're skipping 1 stitch. We're front post double crocheting around the post of the next front post double crochet. And then we'll come back and get the skipped one. So here's this one. Then we are going to come back and get the one that we missed. Okay? And then we are going to skip 1, 2 stitches back here and place, make sure I'm skipping them. Yes, I am. 1, 2, 3 half double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches. And then let's get myself a little bit more yarn here. Hope Theo doesn't take it. Can you see him? I guess you can't see him. He is right here sitting on the table next to me, being so good and not grabbing my yarn from me. Okay, so the next row of this pattern, it tells us to front post double crochet around each of the front post double crochets, and it says the next 6. So when it says front post double crochet around each of the next 6 stitches, it means in order. So there's no like crossing over for this part. We're just going to have to dig the ones from behind. There's one, and you know what? I don't like it. I made too big of a loop there. I want to go back and fix it. So I'm going to hold it a little bit tighter and make sure and hold it there a little bit snugger and get under that cable. So these cables, these stitches are behind. These are the ones that are tucked behind. And if you like spread it out a little bit, you can see them here between my thumbs. So I'm putting them, the next 6 stitches in order, which means I have to like find them from the back a little bit and put 1 front post double crochet. You'll see it here in a moment when I lay it flat, I think. And then we'll go ahead and do, so this makes the flatter turned cable, it's a little less nubby because it's got this nice little flat portion here. Okay, and the reason why we're going back and forth between front post double crochets and half double crochets is that the front post double crochets are taller, but we have to reach down further. So when you put the front post double crochets a row, 2 rows below, because we skipped the single crochet row and went into the front post double crochets, and we've got the half double crochets up here, it kind of all evens out. Okay, so we got done with that row of the cable. We will make sure and skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then in the next remaining 3, we're half double crocheting 1 in each. All right, so for this pattern, chain 1 and turn, single crochet because we're on an even numbered row. And remember, when we get to this next part, we're working in the stitches that were made most recently. We're working in the stitches that are the newest, the most recent row. When she said to single crochet in each stitch across, she did not say drop down a row, so we're working in the most recent row instead. Just as usual, nothing special, single crocheting all the way across. So the cat is rubbing his face on my tripod a little bit, and that's the bouncing of the camera there. Sorry about that, but Theo is being so good sitting up. Oh, I had to say something. Here he comes. Here he comes. Stalking my yarn. I can't believe he stayed out of frame so far. Okay, and I want to make sure and get a stitch in that final stitch. That final turning chain 2, which is counting as a half double crochet in this pattern. I want to change to the lighter colored blue so that I can do another cable row for you. So here's how it's looking so far. Now you can't, because we've changed colors, maybe you're having a harder time seeing it, so let me show you in the solid color. It really helps to see when I'm making the stitches where to go when I change colors, but to see the development of the cable, I think it really, you can really see the overall twisting look to it in the solid color. So we did the crossover, then we did all straight across, and then we can do all straight across again, and then we'll do another crossover. So you really know all the steps now for this pattern. So there's really only crossover, even, crossover, even, crossover. So those are the crossover portions, both the standard X cable, the nice little cable there, or the flat kind of 3x3 cable. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this pattern. Oh, I want to tell you though, that you now have all the skills you need to know for this pattern, but make sure you go and get the pattern from Knit Picks. But also, you may not know that Brenda also wrote this book, Fair Isle Tunisian Crochet. And so this book, so Brenda Borg is her name, and you can search for it on Amazon, but it's all Tunisian patterns, and I know how much you guys love that. And just to show you that, you know, she's a really awesome designer, and her patterns are really good. So just a little shout out to her. I'm not getting paid for this placement at all. I just wanted to tell you about a hidden gem that you may not know about. So I hope you've enjoyed this little look into beginner cables and the Snowberry Cables Afghan, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.